time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, plop down in the living room floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
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 And this morning, we watched Rick and Morty.
And this was suggested by Sam via email. So thank you, Sam. I know Joseph really wants to thank you because he's been wanting me to watch this show.
Yeah, definitely. I really like this show, so thank you, Sam, for finally suggesting it to us. I've seen all of it already, but it was fantastic watching it again, and I was so happy that Chris had to watch it, and hopefully he feels the same way. We'll see.
We'll see.
We will see.
Actually, you'll hear.
Oh, yeah, right.
To be fair.
We'll hear.
They'll hear. They'll hear.
I'll see, because I see you on video right now.
Oh, yeah, good point.
But no one else does, so they'll hear.
Yeah.
So the show Rick and Morty started in 2013 and is still going as far as the present goes in 2017. Created by Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. Produced by Justin Roiland's Solo Vanity Card Productions, Harmonious Claptrap, Starburns Industries, William Street, and Cartoon Network Studios. It's so far 2 seasons, 21 episodes long. It's renewed for a 3rd season, and it is recording the 3rd season as we speak as far as February goes. So that hopefully will be coming sometime this year. It runs on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim, and it's streaming various places. I know I watched it on Hulu. I think it's also, some of it may be streaming on Netflix and various other places. And for a short synopsis, an animated series, it follows the exploits of a super scientist and his not-so-bright grandson.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I'd say so. It's a good synopsis.
It was cool to hear that William Street was one of the studios because I remember William Street doing Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which were 2 cartoons on Adult Swim I used to watch.
So, Chris, who were some of the actors who played in this show?
Glad you asked, Joseph.
That was awful.
So the characters of Rick and Morty were voiced by Justin Roiland, who was one of the producers and creators of the show. Character of Jerry was voiced by Chris Parnell, who also voices Cyril Figgis in the show Archer. The character of Beth was voiced by Sarah Chalk, who is better known as playing Dr. Elliot Reed in the show Scrubs, and Stella for a brief time period in How I Met Your Mother. And then finally, the sister Summer was voiced by Spencer Grammer, also mainly known for being in television by playing Casey Cartwright in the show Greek.
Interesting.
Yeah, I liked Scrubs and Greek and How I Met Your Mother and Archer. So I'm familiar with all these things. I like all of them.
So obviously this show is based on the title characters of the original show that was made by Justin Roiland, his animated short called The Real Animated Adventures of Doc and Marty, which is obviously based on Doc and Marty from Back to the Future.
Right.
Very loosely, of course, especially if you've ever seen the original pilot episode of this. It is pretty intensely raunchy, I guess. Disgusting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, it's this times 10.
Oh my gosh. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, exactly. But that's when it's Doc and Marty, not Rick and Morty.
You know, that explains a lot, though, because when I've told people that we were going to be doing this one, I had several people tell me that the first episode they saw of the show, they couldn't watch it because they said it was so gross. So I'm wondering if it was actually that they saw. Because this first episode isn't that raunchy. I mean, a little bit, but not super raunchy. So, yeah, I would assume that people probably saw that one and they were like, I can't do it.
Yeah, they were probably watching the pilot and not the actual first episode, which I can understand why they might be turned off of the show entirely just from that, if it's not something they can handle. I won't even go into it because I would have to bleep out a lot of the show. So just watch it on your own time, report back. So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Rick and Morty cereal, The show's theme song by Ryan Elder is a parody of Doctor Who and Tintin and was originally used in a rejected Cartoon Network pilot Roiland made called Dog World, which was also referenced in the episode Lawnmower Dog, which happens to be my favorite episode, which is the second episode that I was trying to suggest that we watch. But
yeah, you were hoping we watched.
I was hoping, yeah.
But our listener picked one for us.
And I'll tell you the reason I love that episode, and I won't even say why exactly, but the reason I love that episode is Scary Terry. Just know that name. Watch the second episode.
Terry.
Scary Terry. Watch that episode and you'll know exactly why I love it.
I will do it.
Yes. So
I promise.
Please do.
I pinky swear.
Pinky swear on video. There it is.
Got it.
Secondly, John Kricfalusi's The Ren and Stimpy Show was also a huge source of inspiration for Rick and Morty, which is why, according to Roiland, the small W-shaped mouths that the characters occasionally make is a reference to a similar expression that Ren frequently made.
That makes a lot of sense. I did catch that.
Yeah, since we did watch Ren and Stimpy for this show already, I can remember back and know that mouth that they're talking about, and you see it a couple times in the episodes we watched of Rick and Morty too.
Yeah, I completely saw that. And I remember thinking that too as we were watching it. I was like, oh, that looks familiar. And then, it came to me later that was totally the face that Ren makes whenever he's just kind of like not all there or kind of dumbfounded. You know, his mouth just kind of sags down and his lips are a little bit parted. And Morty does make that face quite often.
There is a lot of being dumbfounded in this show, I think, and that really complements it well. Dan Harmon created this show along with Justin Roiland during the time that he was fired from the previous show, Community, that he was a part of, that he actually co-created and was a part of. I had never seen Community, but I think that's one that I used to watch a lot.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either, but the majority of my friends watch it and say I'm an idiot for not watching it.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if Dan Harmon was a part of it, then I'm sure it was.
Right.
And anytime a fake commercial appears, and unfortunately, we didn't see any fake commercials in these episodes that we watched, but there are some that are just hilarious. But they are single audio takes of Justin Roiland improvising as he stutters and laughs throughout them. So it's literally like improv commercials being made as they're being recorded. So
I'm sad we didn't see one.
I know, watch more episodes just for those commercials. It's ridiculous.
I will do that.
I think the second episode actually has some of them, so now more incentive to watch it.
We used to do fake commercials for things.
We did, but they were definitely not improvised.
Yeah, they were pre-written and not nearly probably as good.
which is kind of sad, but
sad.
That's why we don't make commercials anymore.
Yeah.
So lastly, it is suggested that this show takes place in the same universe or multiverse as Gravity Falls, another popular cartoon which we also watched.
Oh, really?
As items seen falling in a portal in the latter appear falling out in the former.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think either the creator or some of the voice actors of Gravity Falls did guest star in some of these episodes, not the ones we watched, but in some of the episodes of Rick and Morty as well. So
that just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
I know, like there's a connection there somehow. I mean, it's speculation, but there is proof to it if you really look into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna have a conspiracy theory on our hands. We're gonna have to sleuth it out and find out what's going on.
Man, if we ever see a gnome vomiting rainbows, then we'll know for sure.
Yeah, then we'll know. You know me, I like a good conspiracy theory.
I'm surprised you didn't jump on this already.
I know. Well, I didn't have this marshmallow yet, and now I have it.
That's true, and I don't think we saw any of those portals ejecting its yet.
Like today, I spent my day studying the conspiracy theory that Jack the Ripper and H.H. Holmes are the same person. It's a thing. It's a thing, man. Look it up. It's real.
So look into this one and check its validity, because I really want to know. That'd be awesome.
Put on your tinfoil hats, guys.
Yeah, exactly. We need to bring that back. No one's asking for it but me, but bring it back.
We'll do it.
Yeah. That's all for now for the marshmallows, but do you have any memories of this show? Like, from what I understand, you had only seen very little of it.
Yeah, I've only seen clips here and there, and I've known of it. I've just never actually watched it, mainly because I didn't have, I haven't had actual television for, 7 years, something like that, maybe 7 or 8 years. So, I mean, anything I watch is either going to be on Netflix or on YouTube or something like that. So there's a lot of shows that I've missed that have come out in the last decade. And the thing that the reason I know of it the most is from going to like San Diego Comic-Con the last few years. Because I did catch a panel or two a few times that featured various people from various cartoons, and Rick and Morty was in one of those, I believe. And they showed like some upcoming clips of like one of the upcoming seasons that's now passed for sure. But
yeah.
So yeah, I've just kind of been exposed to it, but never actually sat down to watch it. Though lots of friends of mine, such as you and our friend Jim and people like that, always tell me I need to be watching it. So now I have had my exposure.
You have
I've been exposed.
You've been exposed
in multiple ways.
I was a little late to the party since this started in 2013. I didn't really know about it until maybe late 2015. And I had maybe seen it around, but I didn't really make any connection. And no one had been saying like, oh, this is amazing to me specifically or anything. But then it may have been Jim also who was recommending it around like early 2016 sometimes. So I checked it out and man, I was just like fell in love with it. It was so good. I mean, it's just right up my alley as far as comedy goes. And it's just,
Nice.
It's ridiculous enough, but still grounded in certain ways. I don't know. We'll go into it, but there's something really special about it, I think. So let's go ahead and jump into 3 episodes we watched for today's show. The very first episode, highest rated episode, and finally a random listener chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how these episodes fall chronologically, but of course we have to start with the very first episode, which was Pilot, Season 1, Episode 1. Literally, it's called Pilot.
I want to challenge you one of these days to say that whole thing as fast as humanly possible.
Oh man, I'll try. I mean, I'm so used to it now. Or I should have done it during Flashpoint. That would have made sense to try to speed through it.
Oh man, yeah, that's true.
Well, my bad.
Missed opportunity. Hindsight.
Yep.
2020.
2020. So in Pilot, Rick moves in with his daughter's family and establishes himself as a bad influence on his grandson Morty. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, that does happen.
That's kind of a good summation of the entire show.
So, okay, explain this to me. Well, I guess I figured this out. I guess, so the first part of each episode really is not canon to the rest of the episode. Is that correct? The beginning of this one and the beginning of the next one, something takes place and it becomes a joke. And then you see the credits and stuff, and then the story kind of picks up in a completely different like way. So at the beginning of this one, it was like Rick gets Morty out of his bed in the middle of the night, gets him in like this little hovercraft plane thing, and he's really drunk. And he's talking about how he's going to drop a bomb and kill everybody so he can repopulate the Earth, and he's going to abduct the girl that Morty has a crush on. And Morty kind of talks him out of it, and then they land, and he falls out of it all drunk, and he's like, "Oh, it was a test. Like it wasn't actually armed." But then the computer's like, the bomb is armed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so like, and in the next episode, if I remember right, the very first thing is somebody basically kills Rick, like shoots him right through the head. And then, you get the credits, but then it starts over in the same scene and he's fine and stuff. So I'm assuming that it's kind of like they're goofing around for the first minute or so, and then they start the actual episode.
No, they are canon. The second episode, I can explain that part. This episode, okay. I think it's more like just crazy antics going on, and I guess either the bomb may have been disarmed, or this could have been part of a multiverse where that did happen, because something that we see throughout is various multiverses of Rick and Morty's. So. Right. I can't really say as far as the first episode goes, but the second one, I'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
But yeah, so first they're at the dinner table, right? And Morty
they're eating breakfast.
Sorry, at the breakfast table. Food. And he passes out in his food. And this is part of that first portion where they're just, Morty's, up in the middle of the night, something that's been happening, obviously, even though this is the pilot episode, where we come to understand this has been happening many nights in a row. And so he's just, He's tired. He's falling asleep on his plate of food. Rick's complaining. Well, the dad, Jerry's complaining about him keeping Morty out all night. And Rick's talking about, everybody's supposed to sleep. Like, what is this? And just all this stuff where he's talking about, you don't need that much sleep. School's a waste of time. It's not a place for smart people and all this. So he's trying to make excuses for why he's keeping Morty out in the wee hours of the night.
Right. And I did like his line that school is not a place for smart people. I wish I could have used that line when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm smart. But then, my parents can make the argument that I'm not very smart.
Yeah.
And that's why I belong in school, which would have been the truth. But one thing that's funny, so Morty goes to school. He's kind of falling asleep in class. He's daydreaming. He's thinking about his crush, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Jessica.
Jessica. So he keeps thinking about her, and then he has this like daydream that Jessica is like shows him her boobs, and then she's like, touch them, squeeze them. And so he's like squeezing them and stuff. But then we see what's going on in reality, and the class has been dismissed, and he's actually grabbing his teacher, who's like a male, like an older male guy, and he's just like trying to get Morty to wake up, and he's like, 5 more minutes of this and I'm gonna get mad.
Yeah, he's like, Morty, what are you doing? 5 more minutes of this and I'm gonna get mad. And he's like, not my fault this is happening.
That made me laugh because that was the joke I was looking for to tell me what kind of show this was gonna be.
Yeah.
And that was the joke where I'm like, this is a familiar place. I can live in this. I can enjoy this cartoon.
Yeah. So it starts out strong for you is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I was just kind of looking for that sense of humor. And, the sense of humor I get from this show to me is a mix of Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, and the ridiculousness that comes with any Adult Swim cartoon. And so that was the perfect joke to kind of be like, okay, it's one of these, and I'm like, aha, there it is. Now I know.
Yeah, that sealed the deal for you.
Yep,
and exactly. That jumps over to Morty, and this part I like too, where Morty's at his locker, and the bully Frank comes up, and he's just like, good morning, Frank, and he's like, what are you trying to say? My family's poor? And he's like, pushes him up against the locker and pulls out a switchblade.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I think you have the situation under control without the knife. And then like as he's bullying him, Rick comes out and freezes Frank with a ray gun because he's got to take Morty away again, of course.
It doesn't even say anything about it. He just kind of freezes him and keeps talking to Morty.
Yeah.
Doesn't really acknowledge what's going on.
He just moves him over. Yeah, grabs Morty and goes. Then Summer walks by. Like internally, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm about to pass by Frank, whatever his last name was. This is gonna be the story we tell our kids." And as she's walking by him, she's like, "Oh, hi, Frank," and then his frozen body falls over and just shatters, explodes on the ground, and she screams, and that's hilarious.
What's funny is because I thought that this was going to be a character that we see often. I'm like, okay, so this is gonna be Morty's like protagonist,
antagonist.
This is going to be it's going to be Morty's antagonist, the person that bullies him and causes him grief throughout the show, and the guy's dead in like within minutes.
Yeah,
I was like, what? Okay,
again,
I thought that was funny.
Morty has plenty of antagonists, so he doesn't need Frank there,
right?
But
so that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it, and I appreciated that they took a stereotype and immediately and literally broke it.
Yeah. I mean, instantly you're getting, this is a great pilot episode because it's giving you, it's kind of contradicting everything you think it's going to be right off the bat.
Yeah. Also, I like, so Rick takes Morty to this other dimension and is kind of giving him sort of like this heartwarming speech kind of thing about, Morty's better than this, like doesn't need to school, blah, 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 blah. And he's just kind of showing, this is what you're missing by being in school. Like, look at this place. Nobody's been here before. Look how beautiful it is, and that they're discovering these new trees, and he needs to get these seeds from these mega trees or whatever. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of this speech that he's giving that's kind of meaningful, it's interrupted by this monster showing up, and he's like, "Oh my God, run, Morty, we're gonna die, Morty, we're gonna die."
I've never seen that before. Run, Morty. Yeah.
Like that got me another. It gave me another LOL, if you will,
another good chuckle.
Yeah, along with the revelation that Morty, his parents have a conversation with the principal, whose name is Principal Vagina.
Yeah, no relation.
I don't understand that one, but it was funny. This is Principal Vagina, and that he's only attended 7 hours of school in the last 2 months.
Yes, so they have to call him in. or he has to call the parents in, and he's talking to them. We jump back over to Rick and Morty in the other dimension, and Rick gives Morty these shoes, these basically anti-gravity shoes where it clings to whatever surface, and because he has to go down this hill. And so Morty instantly just starts walking and starts trying to walk over a cliff edge and immediately falls. And Rick's like, "You have to turn them on."
and breaks both of his legs terribly.
When it cuts
like
back
in
to
multiple
scene.
places.
Yeah, his legs are just like completely bent, definitely broken, and
This is mangled.
and he's just like writhing in pain.
And and what happens there is Rick opens another portal, disappears, and you just see him writhing in pain for a while, like at least another 30 seconds of just that.
Yeah.
Then Rick shows back up with this little thing and injects Morty and fixes his legs completely. But he says something about like, well, he's gone. He goes to this other dimension and meets, he's like the oldest person there, and all the females there are going crazy, and it sounds like he's like sleeping with a bunch of them somehow in this like tiny little window of space that he was gone.
And
I just thought that was good.
Yeah. And the repercussion to that is that his portal gun doesn't have any charge left in it, so they can't get back the normal way so they have to go through customs in this like interdimensional like teleporter airport type thing. He's like, all right, you're gonna have to like these mega seeds from the tree that he's gotten are probably the size of maybe a little bit bigger than a pear, I would say. But
I think they're bigger than that for sure. I would say
bigger than a pear, but they are like spiny and they look really coarse, and he has to shove them up his butt as far as he can shove them, Morty does, in order to get through customs. And what's great about that is like immediately when they get to customs, like everything's going fine. Like they're walking in line, they're about to start going through, and he's like, "Wait, hold on. You go through you're basically one of those random selections. Like you go through this other machine we're testing, and it sees all the way up your butt." So we can see everything up there.
And then Rick's immediately like, run!
Yeah.
So they're running, and these security guards are chasing them. All the security guards are like these big mutant fly aliens or something.
Yeah, they're like big dragonflies. And
Rick is trying to open this portal to get them home. And he's like, they're just robots, just shoot them. So Morty starts shooting at him, and he immediately like blows the legs off of one of them, who falls to the ground like in agony, and one of them is like, he's bleeding out, call his wife and kids.
Yeah. He's like, they're not robots, Rick. He's like,
Rick's like,
it's a figure of speech. Yeah.
That was great.
When they finally do get back, I think this is the point where, after Beth and Jerry had been talking about shipping Rick off to a nursing home, like they're finally packing up his stuff and ask him when he comes back to go. And they're in the garage together and packing up all Rick's stuff, asking him to leave. And then he's trying to explain how, even though he has kept Morty out of school, like again, kind of stressing on the you don't need school part, where he's like, he's learned so much just from these adventures I've taken him on. He starts asking him questions like, what's the square root of pi, which is like 1.357 something. I'm wrong, but he's saying it correctly. And then he's saying all these tests to test his intelligence, and they're just like, wow, like Jerry and Beth are like, just wow, like maybe we should let you stay because it seems like it's been really valuable to Morty. But as they walk off, it turns out, and Morty's all surprised, like, wow, I really am getting smarter. And then Rick's just like, no, like it's just a side effect of the seeds dissolving in your butt, and that's gonna wear off soon. And when it does, you're gonna lose all motor function for a few hours or something.
Yeah. and not just that, he also loses a lot of his brain capacity, brain function. So he just kind of falls to the ground and has this like not quite seizure, but close to it. And he's pretty much brain dead for like the next several hours. And and it wasn't just that like, oh no, not that you're actually smart, it's because the seeds. It's also that the seeds, made you smart, but in reality, you are very dumb. You're about as dumb as it gets.
Yeah. and then since it's the pilot episode, he kind of ends it like, now it's like, now, since the seeds dissolved, I had to get them to dissolve to fool your mom and dad into letting me stay. Now we have to go get more. We have to go on more adventures, for Rick and Morty forever, 100 years, 100 days, www.100timesrickandmorty.com. And he just keeps saying, it goes on for like 2 minutes in this spiel about all
Rick
this.
And Morty.
Yeah, saying Rick and Morty together for 100 something. And that wraps up the pilot episode.
Whenever Rick talks, he constantly stutters or belches, like in the middle of sentences, just all the time.
Yeah.
And at first I thought it was going to get on my nerves really bad, but it really didn't.
Yeah, it does grow on you. I mean, it's one of those things where he's stuttering to start sentences, or when he says Morty, he'll just say it like Morty, like he'll stutter all the way there and then belch in the middle of it. But it does seem like it would get tiring, but it really doesn't. You just kind of accept it, and that's his character. That's how he talks.
Right.
So jumping on to the second episode we watched for today's show, this one is Close Rick Calendars of the Rick Kind, Season 1, Episode 10, and this episode was selected by Sam. So thank you, Sam, for choosing this one.
Sam.
In this one, and I'm reading these as they were written on Hulu, the descriptions, and also IMDb. So, okay, Rick has run in with some old associates, resulting in a fallout with Morty. You got any chips, bro?
What?
That's how the summary was written on Hulu.
Weird. Well, I don't have any chips. I wish I did because I have salsa and no chips.
Yeah.
What kind of world is that?
In this one, the first part of it's kind of true, where he has a run-in with some old associates, and it does result in a fallout with Morty, but there's so much more that happens because of it, or around it. So
explain the beginning to me, because this is what tripped me up, because like Rick dies right off the bat. He gets shot right in the face, like right through the forehead.
Rick dies during the first part. This entire episode is about kind of the multiverse of Ricks and Mortys, and how Ricks across the multiverse are being assassinated and Mortys are being captured. So this is showing a part of that. This isn't the Rick and Morty that we know.
So that was the universe that we're used to. That was one of the alternate universes.
Exactly. Yeah. Where they shoot Rick and they capture Morty to take him to the tower that we'll see later.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. So not the same Rick and Morty we're used to. It was a different version.
Right. That not universe C-137, I think it is. But it used to be C-135, but then they had to switch over to a different universe, the Rick and Morty that we know. So, but that happens in one of the episodes in between episode 1 and episode 10, I think. So, yeah, just as you watch them, it'll start making more sense. But there's a lot, think of it kind of like Marvel, where it's like Earth 616.
Right, and then you got the Ultimate Universe.
And all the Ultimates and all that, yeah.
There's a universe where everybody is a Thor.
Just
for
like
some reason.
Just like in this one where everybody is an Eric Schultz mask.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then there's the one with Doofus Rick in it.
I like Doofus Rick. So does Jerry.
He's sweet. Yeah. So okay, so we kind of described how this episode goes, but we see our Rick, the C-137 Rick, get captured. He's not killed. He's not even captured. He's taken into custody by multiple Ricks from the Rick Council. I'm going to say Rick a ton in this episode.
There's a lot of Rick.
So hold on. They take him to the Citadel of Ricks, and they've got, in this, we see there's multiple versions of Morty as well, because for every Rick, there has to be a Morty to accompany him. We find out a little bit later why that is, which we'll talk about then. The Mortys are just crazy, but one of the Mortys is just like, show me the Morty.
There was the one Rick trying to sell Morty insurance to other Ricks.
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
So the reason they captured him is because there were 27 Ricks, different Ricks murdered in different multiverses or different universes. They assume that it's this Rick because he's one of the only ones that's left that could be guilty of something like that. And they scan his portal gun and see that he's been in all of these places where the murders had occurred at various times.
He's not very happy to be there either. And in fact, it looks like a lot of the other Ricks have run into this specific Rick before. So they're trading a lot of insults back and forth. He's got a bit of a reputation. So the Citadel of Ricks is very happy to finally have a reason to bring this Rick in.
Yeah.
They're just like, thank God we can finally put this one down or put him in jail or whatever.
Right.
But of course, because it's Rick, he manages to escape, and him and Morty just keep creating all of these various portals that they're jumping through in different dimensions. So they end up in this one dimension that's just a bunch of giant butts farting with like
there's toilet paper hanging and
toilet
stuff.
paper hanging off trees and stuff. They go through a reality where there's a pizza, 2 slices of pizza lounging on furniture, ordering people on the phone.
Yeah.
And that leads, and then they end up in a dimension where it's phones sitting on pizza ordering furniture, and then another dimension where it's furniture sitting on people ordering phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to order 1 large phone with extra phones, please.
Cell phone. No. Rotary. And payphone on half.
And Rick and Morty actually stick around in this dimension for a little bit and go to like a restaurant. Everyone's staring at them. So they end up at this restaurant sitting on other people and like casually ordering phones to eat. which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
While they kind of figure out what to do.
Instead of breadsticks, they have phone sticks and stuff like that.
Yeah, phone sticks. Right.
And they're just sitting on these other people furnitures that basically inanimate people. It's weird, but it makes like you accept it after a little bit. You're just like, okay, this is how the world is. Got it.
This is life.
Yeah, this is life now. So while this is happening, we see some of the other main Ricks from the Rick Citadel go to Universe C-137 to basically go into where Rick is staying with, Beth and Jerry, waiting for him there and, kind of tapping the phone, waiting for him to call so they can track him. In that time, they're also messing with Jerry because they can't help it, because that's just a natural thing for Ricks to do, is mess with Jerry.
Right, yeah.
Because Jerry is, I guess, just to describe his character, he's just, I don't even know. Like, he's just really naive and not very smart. And he hates
Rick.
And yeah, he dislikes Rick. He works in, he's a failed advertising agent who, he's been let go or something. So he's kind of searching around for different jobs. He's between jobs, and he's not a very smart person. And Beth kind of ended up with him because she got pregnant and all these things. So there's a whole lot to their family dynamic, but it goes without saying that Jerry's just not very smart. He's dumb, and Rick picks on that. All versions of Rick pick on that. Except,
he's a very easy target.
Yeah, exactly. Except for Doofus Rick, who is very nice to him. He's obviously not. I don't know. I don't even know if you'd say he's not as smart as the other Ricks, but he's not. Yeah. He doesn't have the same attitude as the other Ricks do.
It is funny because he looks dumber physically, because he looks a little bit different. He's got a dumb haircut, but yeah. Other than that, I mean, he seems like he's just as intelligent. He's just very sweet and very optimistic about everything,
which is the very opposite of Rick. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's talking with Jerry, and they start bonding, and they like come up with bakeless brownies together, and like instant bakeless brownies.
Yeah.
By mixing some chemicals together, and they're just kind of talking about their lives together and just really getting to know each other. It's pretty funny.
Their relationship is a fun kind of side thing going on during this whole episode. And the other Ricks pick on Doofus Rick constantly. They keep saying he's from a world where they eat crap. And
exactly.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what all the Ricks keep saying. So it could be, for all I know. But so then we jump over to where actual Rick and Morty are. They end up they track down and end up going to the place where kind of the headquarters of where the evil Rick, quote unquote, is, that's killing all of the other Ricks. And we see it's this building that's basically layered with naked Mortys being stabbed in the side with these spikes so that they continuously scream. And the reason for that, we find out, is because even though Ricks are easy to track, when they have Morty near them, like it cancels out Rick's smart waves with Morty's Morty waves, is what he says.
Yeah, so
It
that's the
kind of
reason
acts
that
as a stealth device.
yeah, that's the reason that all Ricks need a Morty is because Ricks are supremely intelligent and they have a very specific brainwave. But Mortys are so stupid that it negates the brainwave and
Yeah.
it masks them. So this particular Rick has Mortys all over the place surrounding him, so that he would be pretty much impossible for enemies to track. The only reason that our Rick figured it out was because by looking at his portal gun, which had been tampered with, he found basically the calling card of who it was that had hacked his portal gun. Kind of like an IP address, and was able to trace it back and figure out where to go. So that's the only reason he did it. If he hadn't left a trace behind in the portal gun, or if Rick wouldn't have figured it out, they absolutely would never find this evil Rick.
Yeah, and eventually, when they do get in there, they're trying to be stealthful about it, but Morty keeps complaining because this is kind of where the fallout starts, where Morty's like, I'm just a stealth device or whatever. I'm just being used for this reason and one reason or another. And while they're trying to be stealthy about it, he's just like yelling and shouting at Rick. And then all these sentry bugs come out. They're working for Evil Rick, and they capture them. And that brings Rick to this basically this operating table where he's strapped in. And I like it when he's telling these jokes and this bug is laughing at him. Or is laughing at the jokes, and he's like, see, he gets it. And then the other Rick's just like, no, your jokes aren't funny. This is just a bug that laughs, or he makes a noise that sounds like laughter every 10 seconds, and then it just keeps happening. So I just thought that was
like,
really,
dang it.
Yeah, that was really weird and funny.
Morty gets put in a holding cell with a bunch of other Mortys from various universes, and my favorite one is Hammer Morty, which is just like basically a big anthropomorphic hammer with Morty's face on it.
Yeah. And they're looking for the one true Morty. And
there's a prophecy of the true Morty.
Yeah. And since this Morty is actually standing up and speaking about how working together they can get out of this. So the Mortys rebel and they escape their entrapment or their cell.
Yeah, they start attacking the guards and stuff. And that's where I love Hammer Morty, because Hammer Morty's just bashing people with his own face.
Yeah. Most of the Mortys go and just start mauling Evil Rick.
Yeah, just I think eating them or something.
Yeah,
ripping them apart,
tearing them to pieces. And
it needs to be said though that Evil Rick has an Evil Morty with him. Evil Morty wears an eye patch.
Right?
He's important.
Very.
Sort of.
Yeah, and after all this, like the Ricks from the Citadel of Rick come in, and they see that the true enemy was the true enemy was killed, basically. And then as they're going through it, they come to find out like, oh, this isn't like human at all. Like he's got like cyborg parts or something. And they find this device in him where they're like, well, this is a receiver, but where is the transmitter? And that's what cuts over to Evil Morty. Well, okay, so all the other Mortys that were in this dimension are being shipped back off to. These are all Mortys where their Rick has been killed, so they're being shipped back off to home where they can live normal lives without a Rick, and including Eye Patch Morty, who is Evil Morty, and we see him, and it cuts away with this kind of this music that lets you know something bad is going on. And he takes his eye patch off, and you see like a transmitter on the inside of it. He rips it off, tucks these wires back into his eye, and then just kind of blends in with the rest of the Mortys and goes on these transport ships back to his own Earth. Right. So the true enemy has escaped capture.
However, ready for your tinfoil hat? Put on your tinfoil hat.
Okay.
I think that was still a Rick and not actually a Morty. I think there was an evil Rick who basically commandeered this Morty and hooked up the wires and everything and put his consciousness in this Morty, then made a robot out of his old body, because he is now Morty, makes a robot out of his old body. So we have the robot fake evil Rick, because why else would he need all of the Mortys on the outside? Because the brainwaves are associated with Ricks and not with Mortys. So it wouldn't make sense for another Morty to have other Mortys outside blocking the brainwaves, but it would make sense if it's still actually Rick's brainwaves inside of this Morty.
Interesting.
I think so. I think it's actually a Rick inside of a Morty body,
Controlling a Rick.
and controlling the fake Rick. It makes sense for the show, with as goofy as it is.
True.
It makes sense with the circumstances, and it's a perfect cover because no one would suspect a Morty because everyone thinks Mortys are all stupid.
It could be that, or it could be that this Morty just decided to rebel against basically the monarchy of Ricks, and
Mortys aren't smart though. Like, how would he pull all of that together? Such a diabolical plan.
Right, but maybe this is a universe where that specific Morty is. So I don't know. There's multiple ways it could go.
I don't know, man. I'm going with the tinfoil hat theory.
I don't remember if it comes up anymore in any of the episodes of season 2 or not. I don't think it does, but
if it does, listeners, you should let us know.
I'm sure we'll learn eventually.
And let me know if you think my theory is correct, that it was actually a Rick in a Morty's body.
Controlling a Rick.
Controlling a fake Rick. Yes. It makes a lot of sense. So much sense.
So much sense.
Yeah. You asked for another tinfoil hat theory.
Did you watch the after credit scene?
No, I did not.
After the first episode, every episode has an after credit scene too.
Oh, I wish I would have known that.
Yeah. In this one, it's Rick's back. He's talking to everybody, and Jerry's noticeably sad because he misses Doofus Rick. And then he looks out the window, and he sees Doofus Rick like standing out there in the rain or something, and they like wave at each other. And then normal Rick comes up to the window. He's like, "Is that Doofus Rick?" And then he says that he kind of reiterates the fact that he eats poop and all this stuff, and just laughs at him and says it's priceless that those two are friends. And yeah, so
poor Jerry.
Yeah, he can't catch a break. But yeah, that brings us to the last episode we watched for today's show, which is Total Rickall, season 2, episode 4, and this is the highest rated episode. And okay, this is an even weirder description. We done get to meet all sorts of new friends in this one, bro. Morty goes ham in this one, bro. That's it.
Oh my God.
That's the description.
Man, this description sounds like they were written by the Russian mobster guys from Matt Fraction's Hawkeye series.
Yeah, exactly.
Where all they say is bro every 5 seconds.
Right. And this is bro spelled with an H too.
Oh,
maybe it's Lord. Like bruh. I don't know.
Bruh. This was easily my favorite episode.
This episode watched. Hilarious.
Which is probably why it was the highest rated.
Yeah. It's so it starts out with Uncle Steve, who this is just a character like we've never seen before up to this point, and he's just in like with the family. He's supposedly been there for years or something, or the past year or something like that. And Rick steps in and he's just like, "Who's this?" He tried to explain how, it's Uncle Rick Uncle Steve, and he's been with them for so long, and all these memories.
Like, you knew it was fake because he was telling Jerry like how great a guy he is and stuff.
Yeah, he's just being super pleasant. And then so Rick pulls out a ray gun and just like shoots him in the head, and everybody's like freaking out. But then he's like, "No, he was just an alien parasite." And they look at the ground, and he turns into this weird, like he transforms back into this weird worm-like creature and dies. Right. And then Rick's like, "All right, like somebody must have dragged this in on their feet or something from another dimension." And then everybody's like staring at him. It's like, well, it could have been anybody. And he's like, "All right, be on the lookout for these zany, wacky characters because they could come up anywhere." In comes Mr. Poopy Butthole, who is this weird little yellow guy who's just like, "Woo wee," and he's just talking about all these adventures that they've shared and stuff, and your suspicions are immediately up because of how the episode's been introduced so far. He's just like, "Remember the time we went to the Hulk musical?" And it shows them all in the elevator in these Hulk outfits. And they get stuck in this elevator, and Jerry's like punching the elevator buttons with his Hulk fist. Who is it? Like some other uncle from Jersey comes in to rescue them.
Oh, it was Cousin Nicky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm walking here.
Well, actually, I'm up in the elevator shaft rescuing you, but I'm walking here. And he's invaded this flashback. They come back to reality, and Uncle Nicky's there with them too. And that's when things start to get weird. Yeah. And that things have already been weird, but that's where things start to get even weirder.
So how this works is basically these parasites come in and they implant themselves with using fake memories in your mind. So you've got one like Uncle Steve, right? Or actually we'll take Cousin Nikki as our first example.
Yeah.
So you've got one like Cousin Nikki. Somebody says a memory and Cousin Nikki is featured in it. Then all of a sudden Cousin Nikki is there in the room. And they're like, "Oh, Cousin Nikki." So then they talk to Cousin Nikki, and Cousin Nikki, like, they might dispute, "Oh, wait, are you really Cousin Nikki?" Cuz Rick is getting skeptical. And Cousin Nikki's like, "Yeah, don't you remember when?" And then he'll give a flashback where another parasite, like, another random person will appear. And then that person's in the room. And that's how we got Mr. Beauregard.
Oh, Mr. Beauregard is hilarious.
Who was their butler.
Like,
then we also...
Like Mr. Belvedere from that show.
Yeah.
And
then we also end up with a Frankenstein. And my favorite is Photography Raptor.
Photography Raptor, yeah.
Which is a velociraptor trying to take family photos of all of them, and he just makes raptor noises, which is the best.
And he's got this like old camera too, where you have to put like the shutter or the the curtain over your head to take photos.
Yeah.
You've got Tinkles, who is Summer's like imaginary friend, who
the magic ballerina lamb.
Yeah, she was actually played by Tara Strong.
That makes a lot of sense
because she does sound a lot like Bubbles in this episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. You've got Sleepy Gary, who is basically
Sleepy Gary.
He's like he ends up being Beth's real husband, and Jerry is just a friend or something, a family friend.
There's even more to it than that.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
So yeah, it gets implanted in all their memories that Sleepy Gary is actually Beth's husband and the father to the kids. But when Jerry starts kind of questioning things, and him and Sleepy Gary go to have a conversation in the hallway by themselves. He's like, "Yeah, don't you remember the time we were on the sailboat?" And it's this memory of the two of them on the sailboat, and then they have this moment where they're like hands touch, and then they start kissing and making love and stuff.
Yeah.
So it turns out that they've been having like an affair. And Sleepy Gary goes to kiss somebody. He's like, "No, we promised we wouldn't do this.
Wouldn't do it in the house." Yeah, because
Oh my God.
Jerry, being the stupid person that he is starting to doubt that he exists. Like, he's not doubting other people. He's doubting that he himself is real, and that Sleepy Gary kind of reinforces the fact that he is real, and the love that they share is real or whatever. And
yeah.
So Sleepy Gary's hilarious. You've got Hamurai, who is a samurai who has ham for armor. Amish cyborg.
Yeah, Amish cyborg. There's was it Seymour?
No, Pencilvester.
That's it. Pencilvester.
Yeah.
Who is a talking pencil.
You got
that gets a lot of screen time.
Yeah, you got Reverse Giraffe, who is played by Keith David.
I loved Reverse Giraffe.
I love Keith David's voice. Like, it's just so strong, and it's hilarious watching it come out of this weird giraffe thing.
He was the voice of the cat from Coraline that we talked about months ago, and we talked about how much we enjoyed hearing his voice because his voice is so smooth and so pleasant to listen to. But him with this, okay, try to explain Reverse Giraffe. Like, what does Reverse Giraffe look like?
So Reverse Giraffe is kind of like, he's more of a giraffe neck, and he has like little legs sticking out of his giraffe neck, I guess. I wouldn't even technically say he's a reverse giraffe as much as he is just a giraffe neck with legs. I wouldn't even, I don't know how to describe him exactly, but...
No, not much of a real body.
No. We could go through all these different characters. That's most of the main ones, the main weird ones, but...
There ends up being like 100.
Yeah, and they, as you said, they are replicating based on flashbacks, and like that's how they continue coming in. The issue is obviously the real family has to try to determine who is real and who isn't, with these memories being constantly implanted in their heads. There's this one that's like a refrigerator. I can't remember her name, like refrigerator something, and she's
it's
literally
basically just a refrigerator that talks.
Yeah, and they start to doubt her because I think it's Morty who's like, I figured it out. Like, everybody who's not real, I only have pleasant memories with. Like I don't have any unpleasant memories with anyone who is not real. They question the refrigerator lady, and she's like, "Oh yeah, remember the time like we were on the roller coaster and we couldn't stop screaming." And then Beth's just like, roller coasters are not bad memories, refrigerator person. Like, they're thrilling. And then so she gets shot, and obviously she was a bug.
I do want to say, like, before this, there's like 4 or 5 times that Rick tries to kill Summer.
Oh, yeah.
He just keeps saying that she's obviously a parasite and always wants to kill her. And just knowing Rick, like, maybe he actually knows the truth, but sees this as an opportunity.
Right. Yeah. You never know what his real motives are.
So, yeah, basically they just kind of start questioning everything. And then pretty much each person in the family remembers each other because they have such terrible memories of each other. Like, Morty has all these memories of, like, you know, Rick kind of leaving him to die in various dimensions and things like that, so that he knows that Rick is real. Then Morty has like memories of like horrible memories of his sister, so they know that Summer is real, like et cetera, et cetera. So Summer has horrible memories of her mom. So so basically Rick starts giving them all guns, and they just start going crazy and pretty much just start killing everything. I don't remember if it was Summer that had the memory or Morty had the memory. I think it was Summer had the memory of Morty. It was because she walked in on him jacking off in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And he just keeps going, and he starts like screaming at her, and she's like, "Why are you doing this in the kitchen? I'm the victim here."
Yeah, he's like, I do it all around the house. Yeah. Just when people are out. So, yeah, that was pretty gross, but funny. And so what it comes down to after they take everyone out, by the way, the house has been locked down during all this by Rick so that nobody could get out and replicate further. And, everybody keeps trying to convince him to unlock the house so that people can get out, blah, blah, blah. And so eventually all of the replicas are eradicated except for one who is Mr. Poopy Butthole, again, going back to him, who Beth is trying to find an unpleasant memory with him, but can't. So she pulls out the gun and shoots him in the chest, and he just like slams up against the wall, and blood comes out, and he's just like,
he's just bleeding to death.
Yeah, like, why'd you shoot me? And it turns out he actually was real and
he wasn't a parasite.
An integral part of the family, or at least a longtime family friend.
Right, and we have no idea why or how he ended up there, but he ended up being real. He's like bleeding out. He's like, "Oh, this is what it feels like to die."
Yeah. If you watch the first episode, or if you watch the beginning of this episode, the credits, Mr. Poopy Butthole's in every one of the credit scenes too. In just this episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And in post credits, we actually get to see him in rehab. Like, he's got like the nurse's help as he's trying to like walk on the parallel bars and stuff. And the family's at the window. Beth has some big bouquet of flowers with her to give to him and hope that he forgives her. You know, he looks at the window, like we're looking through the window with the family. So he looks at the window and sees Beth, and then like whispers something to the nurse. And so she comes out. And she's just like, he's doing fine, and, he doesn't want any visitors right now. He'd just like you to leave and all this. And so, like, she's feeling terrible still. And, but he's recovering. So he did live, but it's showing just his recovery phase. So this is the after credit scene.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
I wish I would have seen that one.
Hilarious.
Oh, man.
Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we grab our trusty portal gun, journey to the Citadel of Ricks to grab a random version of our inner kids, and have them review Rick and Morty while we warp around seeking a world of anthropomorphic chairs sitting on inanimate people, feasting on edible telephones.
This cartoon was fantastic because Rick and Morty could go to all these different dimensions and fight aliens and steal seeds and kill people that pick on you at school. So I had to give this cartoon 5 bowls of cereal out of 5, and now I need to go kill Morty so Rick can take me on his adventures instead. Bye.
Rick and Morty brings forth a fantastically humorous blend of family drama and absurd sci-fi, though it's absolutely not for all ages. Somehow this show makes these random, wacky scenarios completely work, being both insanely comical and even sort of tragic at times. I'll chalk it up to a group of excellent writers obviously having a good time. While I'm definitely too young to be watching this show, I still absolutely love the characters, the comedy, and the crazy web of a universe this show has weaved. Overall, I'd give Rick and Morty 5 big bowls of big seeds up your butt cereal out of 5, and definitely recommend you give this show a chance. Now I've got to go meet up with my pals Chris, Frankenstein, and Photography Raptor, whom I've known my entire life and only have fond memories of, while Mr. Beauregard cooks us all breakfast. Bye!
You know, I definitely remember all the good times we've had with Frankenstein and Photography Raptor, but I don't know about this Chris kid. I'd shoot him in the shoulder just to be safe.
I probably would too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I got this scar. So do you have any final thoughts about this show before we get out of here?
Final thoughts. It's hard to even describe how good this show is. And I'm sure people listening to us are probably like, this show sounds ridiculous. And it is, but in such a good way. And I think that if you give it a chance, honestly, if it's appealing to you, the first episode will give you all you need and you'll know whether you like it or not based on that. And if it's not appealing to you, then I don't think I appreciate your sense of humor and I don't think we can be friends. But but honestly, like, this is so good and you should absolutely check it out.
Yeah, it's really a funny show, and I'm honestly not sure how I never gave it the time of day before. I can kind of see how the crude humor might be a turnoff to some people, but if you can get past that, underneath it is extremely clever and has such witty writing with so many really quick and fast jokes that you are bound to miss them if you're not paying attention. So it's one that I'm really glad that I got to see, and I will probably watch the rest of this. I mean, I can't see any reason why I wouldn't just start from the beginning and go all the way through, because I thought it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And okay. Episodes to watch for sure. Second episode,
Lawnmower Dog.
Yeah, absolutely Lawnmower Dog. And then I can't remember what it's called, but it might be like the 6th or 7th episode, the Mr. Meeseeks episode. Watch that one. Hilarious.
Okay.
There's also one where there's a theme park inside of this homeless man's body, and that's part of the adventure. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. These are 3 of the highlights I can think of off the top of my head, but really every show is great. And honestly, like, any of them would serve as a good entry point. Like, there's continuity, but it's not in such a way where if you missed one episode, you're going to be completely thrown off. Every episode can throw you off just because of how weird it is. So jump in anywhere you want, but I'd recommend starting from the beginning and going to the end.
That's my plan. I'm going to do it.
Do it, everybody.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do it, Morty. We're going to do it.
So definitely thank you, Sam, for suggesting this to us. This was awesome. Obviously, we loved it. And
yes,
I love you for suggesting it.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. Next week, we'll be watching
Jace and the Wheeled Warriors, submitted by Brody via Facebook.
Sweet. I remember seeing this suggestion the other day, and I was like, I'm curious about what this is.
Yeah.
Still, I'm curious about what this is, so we'll see.
Warriors with wheels, I guess.
I'm assuming so.
The catch that I found out by looking at it is it's in space.
Oh, of course it's in space, but why have wheels in space? This is a question that will be answered soon, next week. And until then, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.